The Seán McCarthy Show.
Live from New York City. RadioIrish.com.
Welcome to the Seán McCarthy Show here on Radio Irish. Irish performer and drag queen PANTI BLISS and her now famous NOBEL CALL speech from the stage of Ireland's National Theatre, the Abbey Theatre, has been seen as a video on YouTube by hundreds of thousands of people across the globe, and which is now witnessing the respect of the likes of Madonna, actor Stephen Fry, tennis legend Martina Navratilova, sure even Irish television legend Gay Byrne has signed up to Team PANTI. Rory O'Neill's NOBEL CALL speech now enjoys translation into many world languages, including Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, Dutch, French, German, Japanese, and even Russian, to mention just a few. There's also an Irish Sign Language translation of PANTI's inspiring speech, viewable on YouTube. Just go to Google or YouTube and type in PANTI BLISS Abbey Theatre speech, and it should come up right away. And a host of world networks covering this important message about the vile nature of homophobia, and how Rory, after appearing on Irish national broadcaster RTE, was censored following his calling out of parties he believes are homophobes. Now, to discuss all this, we are delighted to be speaking with the man at the centre of this twister of proper order, the NOBEL CALL speech creator, writer and presenter himself, Rory Oneill, a.k.a. PANTI BLISS. How are you, Rory?
I'm good. How are you, Seán? Thanks for having me.
Well, we're delighted to have you here. Rory, you were from Mayo originally. Tell me, when did you come out of the closet as a gay man, and how was that experience for you growing up?
Well, I didn't, sort of come to terms with all of that myself until I was, a college student, and I guess I was about 18 or so. And when I was growing up, I was growing up in 1970s Ireland, and to be honest, I wasn't even really aware of what gay was, there was no... there were no gays on the TV, and there was no gays on the radio, and I had no reference point for it. So it wasn't something I was particularly aware of growing up. And even though I'm from a small town, I was never particularly unhappy or anything, and I was never bullied or any of that kind of thing. I had a pretty idyllic, West of Ireland upbringing, with 5 brothers and sisters, and my father was the local vet. It was all, unlike many gay people I know, I had a pretty easy time of it. And when I did eventually sort of get to the age where that became something I was aware of, and yes, I had maybe a difficult year or two, but once I eventually got to the point where I was able to tell my family were all, certainly my brothers and sisters were all really great, and my father too, he was great from the first moment. And I think my mother, who's deeply Catholic woman and all of that, it took her a few days to adjust to sort of a new reality, but she's been great always too. So I know that so many gay people have sort of a difficult story and a hard story to tell, but in that respect, mine is not that. I couldn't ask for a better family, and so I was lucky, very lucky.
Now, you appeared at the invitation of RTE, which is the national broadcaster in Ireland, on the Saturday Night Show, the host of which, Brendan O'Connor, posed a question to you relating to the nature of homophobia, which you answered by identifying 2 journalists and a Catholic institute as being, from your own personal standpoint as a gay man, homophobic. There then followed a series of events which included RTE censoring you, Brendan O'Connor issuing an apology to those whom you called out as homophobes, 5 lawsuit threats headed your way, I believe, and RTE's controversial reported payout of €85,000 to those you named as homophobes. What sort of an impression does that type of series of actions send out to the world about Ireland, Rory, and about the country's tolerance of gay people, do you think?
Well, I think the whole thing has been a really unfortunate series of events, and it sort of, is the result of various things that all sort of came together. And I know that from an American perspective, it must just seem so unbelievable, because the comments that I actually made on that original television show were very mild, very measured. It was sort of within a general discussion of homophobia, and I suggested that these people who campaign against, equality for gay people, they have weekly columns in national newspapers. They regularly appear on TV and radio. One of them is a lobby group specifically set up, to lobby against gay equality. So my comments were very mild, and in America, nobody would have batted an eyelid, but we have incredibly strict and convoluted defamation laws here, and all it took was a few solicitors' letters from these people who have national columns weekly in national newspapers with which to expound their opinions on everything. It just took a few solicitors' letters from them, and all of this kicked off. And a few weeks later, RTE, in their wisdom, decided that rather than risk any sort of court case, they would just pay out a lot of money to make it all go away. And I think it immediately very much upset the gay community here, who felt that, these powerful people who have a loud opinion on gay people, so one drag queen on a light entertainment show, happened to say something bad about them, and immediately everyone caves in and tells the gay to shut up. And then I think it took a week or two longer before the country as a whole sort of became very interested in this story, especially when they found out that taxpayers' money was paid to these people, who the vast majority of the country would have a lot of sympathy for what I said. Even people in Ireland who have no interest in gay rights, I think would think that what I said was fair comment.
What do you, Rory, as a gay man, need to witness or hear or see or even feel in order to determine for yourself as to whether somebody is homophobic or not?
Well, I think, in a sort of a casual, sort of lazy way almost, I think people look at what it's like to be a gay person or a lesbian person here in Ireland now, and we sort of feel, it's all sort of changed, hasn't it? And it's all good, it's all fine. But actually, and in many ways that is true, and certainly things have come along in massive leaps and bounds from where they were, say, 20 or 30 years ago. But regardless of that, it is still true that on an everyday, day-to-day basis, gay and lesbian people are sort of forced regularly to, as I said in the speech, to sort of check themselves. Because in a myriad small ways every day, we're forced to sort of tone down who we are in order to feel safe or in order to be respected as a fully rounded human being. So we're always sort of aware of, are we being too gay as we walk down, as we chat on this street, or, am I safe, on this bus? At work, how open am I allowed to be? Do I have to sort of pretend that the person I'm going home to every night is a wife, or can I be open about the fact that I'm going home to a boyfriend? All these myriad of things that happen slowly every day, these small little cuts that in a way gay people just are so used to that we don't even notice them half the time. But every now and then, all those tiny little psychic cuts sort of build up until eventually you just need to scream about it. And then I think when gay people do occasionally complain or sort of whinge or give out, people sort of look at them and say, well, why are you complaining, you bloody gays? You're always whinging. Aren't you lucky that you're not living in Russia? As if there is an acceptable level of homophobia that Irish gays should have to put up with simply because we're better off than if we were being, hunted in Russia. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. Now, the world has been thoroughly captivated, Rory, with your Nobel Call video speech, which was uploaded onto YouTube, which you delivered on the famous Abbey theatre stage in Dublin, the National Theatre of Ireland, with your speech going viral and being seen by many hundreds of thousands of people worldwide. Celebrities have literally been lining up to pay their respects to you for your courage, conviction and steadfastness in your singular efforts to draw attention to the scourge that is homophobia. In your Nobel Call speech, Rory, you take us into the very heart of every gay citizen of the world who has ever suffered the brunt of homophobia. What is the one message you want viewers to come away with after watching your Nobel Call speech, Rory?
I think I want people to remember that gay people aren't part of some gay lobby. They're not some sort of other. They're just ordinary, everyday people exactly like you who want to live their ordinary, boring, dull, everyday lives just like you do. But that in many small ways we are prevented from doing that all the time. And whenever we get a little annoyed about that, we're told to calm down. These other people, who sort of argue against the equality, etc., we're always told that that's their opinion, and they're allowed to have their opinion, and we just want to have this reasonable debate. But of course, it's very easy for someone to say, oh, let's have a reasonable debate, when that debate doesn't affect you in any way. But if you're a gay person and you're constantly hearing this debate and constantly hearing people argue that you should be treated differently under the law, it is painful and upsetting and unjust. And that's what I would want people to remember. That gay people are just people, and they feel constantly put upon in these many small ways. And those many small ways build up to a large hurt.
Now, do you think that people, ordinary people, can absorb homophobic tendencies from the culture around them, Rory, including, for instance, media culture and, of course, the usual fringe culprits like hate groups and so on?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the culture we grew up in is, deeply homophobic. Going to any schoolyard and the big insult is, oh, that's so gay. And you grow up with people making jokes about gay people or being dismissive about gay people. And we all absorb that, including gay people. And that's why gay people have struggled for so long, in most cases, to come to terms with their sexuality. That's why they, are in the closet for so long and they're deeply sad for so long. And even after they've reached the point where they have enough courage and self-awareness to come out, we struggle for the rest of our lives still to sort of, overcome that small sense of shame that has been deeply ingrained to us in the culture, from the culture that we grew up in.
Now, in 2015, there is a referendum on same-sex marriage in Ireland. Do you think, Rory, that if the referendum was held tomorrow, the people of Ireland would support same-sex marriage, or...?
If the referendum was held tomorrow, it would be overwhelmingly supported by the people of Ireland. I mean, in general, Irish people are very, decent and empathetic and live and let live. And they have a great innate sense of justice. And I think most Irish people recognize that everyone should be allowed, to do their best to achieve happiness for themselves. And all the polls at the moment all say that Irish people are overwhelmingly in favour of same-sex marriage. Now, I'm not naive, and I realise that once the referendum campaign starts, things will start to get nasty, and opponents of same-sex marriage will start to, drag up all sorts of scare stories, and of course then, the vote will be much tighter in the end than the polls suggest now. However, I'm fully confident that Irish people will, in fact, vote in favour of same-sex marriage. I mean, they don't have to look very far. All around us in Europe, there is same-sex marriage. In Scotland, just a couple of days ago, brought in same-sex marriage. I mean, Scotland, France, Britain, Sweden, Denmark. I mean, it's all over Europe. And of course, indeed, many states in America. And Irish people can look at those and see, well, the sky didn't fall down in Sweden. People are still driving cars and eating ice cream in France. So, I think Irish people will overwhelmingly vote in favour of same-sex marriage, and I'm looking forward to the day that they do.
Here in New York, Rory, we have the controversial ban on gay banners and logos and slogans and gay expression in the annual St. Patrick's Parade. This year, the Mayor of New York, Bill de Blasio, follows his predecessor, Mayor David Dinkins, into the history books of New York City mayors, who famously refused to march in the parade because of the ban. What do you think of Mayor de Blasio's decision not to march in the parade, Rory?
Well, I think he's dead right. I mean, I think from an Irish perspective, this is one of the most sort of weird, hilarious stories. I mean, it's sad too, but we just can't help but smiling. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to the St. Patrick's Day parade here, but it's the gayest thing in the world. I mean, all parades are gay, aren't they? And the St. Patrick's Day parade here is so inclusive, and everybody can get involved, and it's colorful and full of feathers and sequins. It's a great day out for the whole family, and absolutely everybody is welcome. So the idea that the Ancient Order of Hibernians, in their version of celebrating Irishness, excludes, this group of Irish people like that, it just seems so bizarre to ordinary Irish people. It just seems like some sort of throwback to an imagined Irish past that probably never existed in the first place. So I think the sooner that the Ancient Order of Hibernians get with the program and, step into the light, the better. And if the Mayor of New York and various Irish ministers are refusing to take part in that parade until they do, well, I think that's wonderful, and I think it's great that he's taking a stand.
So on a lighter note, Rory, you are a performer and writer and hugely successful entrepreneur with your bar and nightclub, Panti Bar on Capel Street, always doing a great business. What else now is going on in the life of Ireland's Panti Bliss?
Well, I have to say that the last few weeks have been an absolute roller coaster, and when this whole thing started over a month ago, I think the first few weeks were stressful and difficult, and nobody likes having lawsuits hanging over you, and there was a lot of things being said about me, on the airwaves or in the press, and I didn't feel I was able to defend myself at that time. But ever since I gave the speech in the Abbey and the video went online, everything is absolutely turned around, and I think certainly everybody here in Ireland has heard my side of the story now, and everybody has sort of been super supportive and great, and so that's all been good. And then, of course, the whole international aspect has come as an absolute surprise. I never imagined for a moment that anybody outside of Ireland would have any interest in that speech. And the idea that, 500,000 people or whatever actually sat down and watched a 10-minute speech about oppression and homophobia is just stunning to me and so unexpected. But, of course, some great things have come from that in the last week. And I've had invites to New York, Paris, London, Toronto, bringing my old theatre show to various places. I'm writing a new theatre show. I've had publishing companies on. It's all been fun and exciting the last week. So it's been a nice turnaround from the first few weeks of this whole scandal, which were so difficult and painful.
What did it feel like that night during your speech to stand there on the stage which was throughout history a nursery for many of Ireland's leading playwrights and actors of the 20th century, including William Butler Yeats, Augusta, Lady Gregory, Seán O'Casey and John Millington Synge? Did you feel that you were delivering an historical speech, Rory?
No, I didn't. I had been asked just a few days beforehand by the director of the Abbey if I would like to, give us. Well, he said basically I had a few minutes to do whatever I wanted, because of course the theatre does have a great history of free speech and engaging with the issues of the day, and so it appealed to him, I think, to have me on and do it. And it appealed to me because I wanted to be able to tell my side of the story, and I knew that at the exact moment that I would be giving that speech on RTE, where this channel where all of this had kicked off and started, they were going to be having this debate and discussion about the nature of homophobia, a discussion to which I'd been invited, but I didn't feel I could freely participate with all the legal threats hanging over me. So it just appealed to me that at the same time that debate was happening on the TV, that I could give my version of events in an arena that I'm comfortable in, on a theatre stage and to a theatre audience. Now, I was happy with the speech I was going to give, and I felt it, said what I wanted it to say and what I needed to say to people, but I honestly thought that, that it would only be heard by the 500 people who were in the auditorium at the time, plus I thought, well, maybe a couple of hundred people on YouTube might watch it. That's what I thought. So the idea that so many people would see it and that it would spark off this sort of huge debate in this country about the nature of homophobia and what it means to be gay in Ireland today, well, that has all come as a spectacular surprise, but one I'm thrilled about.
Well, it truly is a genuine and heartfelt speech, Rory. And how about little Penny? How has your little doggy been holding up with all this excitement and goings-on?
She's good. She's right here beside me. I have felt a little guilty because I've been so busy. She hasn't been getting as much exercise as she probably should the last week or so, but yeah, she's good.
Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us here on Radio Irish, Rory. It has been a great pleasure to speak to you. And let me say for the record that I personally support your noble call, as we all do here on Radio Irish.
Thank you so much, Seán.
Thanks very much, Rory.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Rory O'Neill there, chatting with me here on Radio Irish. And you can visit Panti Bliss at facebook.com/Panti, P-A-N-T-I. And what a pleasure it was to have Panti Bliss herself come and flesh out all the recent events and reasons as to why she walked out onto that Abbey stage theatre that night, only to go down in the history books now, alongside some of Ireland's literary and theatre greats. And I also think that all of us should find a wealth of meaning and goodwill and spirit in Panti's noble call. It's posted here on Radio Irish at our Radio Irish Facebook page, facebook.com/Radio Irish Live. And you can befriend Panti Bliss on her Facebook page at facebook.com/Panti.
The Seán McCarthy Show.
This is Radio Irish.